Hi Kindergarten. Today we're going to talk about a very famous artist whose name is Claude Monet. He's from France. We will just call him Monet. These are some of the paintings that he made. He liked to paint outside a lot. In fact, his studio was a little boat. He liked to go out on his boat and paint outside, and then he'd come back to his studio. He's very, very famous for painting these water lilies that you might have seen in somewhere. Today we're going to be making a garden in the style of Claude Monet. We are going to be making something like this. So you will need some paint in yellow, green, blue and white, and some colours of oil pastel, and definitely a white oil pastel. If you don't have paint, don't worry, I will show you another way that you can make a similar garden just using your oil pastel or crayons. I hope you're ready to make your Claude Monet garden. It's going to be something like this. You will need some paper that you will hold landscape in front of you. I'm making this on a smaller paper so it will fit into the screen well. You can do it on a bigger paper, you can do it on this size of paper, whatever works for you. I'm going to start off with my green, yellow and blue paint. And I'm not going to be painting with a brush today, I'm going to be painting with a sponge. So this is just like an old sponge that I had and I just cut it small. And I'm going to be dabbing with my paint today. I'm going to start only with the yellow. I'm going to dab into the yellow paint one time for now, and I'm going to be making the bottom part of my garden. So I'm just popping my sponge all over my paper. It's going hop, hop, hop all over. I'm going to keep going until it gets really dry. Now I know I can dip again. I don't want to make it too wet. I want to see some of the white paper shining through. So I've got most of my yellow covered now. I want to leave the top part for my sky, so I'm not going to put yellow up here. I might put a little tree here, so I'm going to just dot some up, or a little bush maybe there. Okay, so this part is my garden at the bottom. Once I've made the yellow, I'm going to do exactly the same thing, but with the green. Little dip in, just a little bit of paint, and I'm going to hop, hop, hop all over my page, right on top of where I put the yellow paint. You see that I didn't dip again yet because I'm still getting some green off of my sponge. Only when it goes really dry will I dip in the paint again. Okay, so now I've got it looking pretty nice how I want it to be. My last little bit of colour, I'm going to put just a tiny bit of blue. I'm going to dip my sponge in a tiny little bit just on the corner, and I'm going to make a little shadow here on the side of this tree. And on the side of this one, and then maybe just a little bit of blue. I don't want too much blue. Dot it over. So now before I do the next part, which will be the sky, I'm going to show you a different way to do this if you do not have paint, and you can use crepa or you can use crayons. So you would be doing a similar thing with yellow, green and blue. But instead of hopping your sponge over, you can make little lines. This time you do want to press quite hard though. And I'm sort of using the crepa or the crayon on this side. So I'm doing my yellow first. I'm moving quite fast with my crepa. making little lines. The artists like Claude Monet, who were called Impressionists, they like to work fast. They worked outside and they would draw quickly and then they would go back to paint. So maybe I've got my little tree here as well, just like last time, and a little bush there in my yellow. And I'm going to do the same thing with the green. You see, you can see some of the white showing through, and that's okay because that's how we want it to look. We want it to look like the sun is shining on our garden. Okay, so now we're going to go and do our sky. I'm going to go back to the first example that is with the paint. Okay, so for our sky, we're going to be using the blue and the white paint. And I'm also going to use some water. I'm just going to dip my brush in to make my paint quite liquidy. I'm going to dip in the white and a tiny bit in the blue. And I'm going to make these horizontal strokes across my page. I'm going to paint all the way down. The sky doesn't stop at the top of my page. If you go outside and look at the sky, you will see it comes down to touch the land. So you have to paint all the way down to touch your grass or your garden. Okay, so now I've got my sky painted on the paint example. I'm also going to show you how you can do it on the crepe example. So if you don't have paint and you did the crepe example, you can either go with crepe and you can color your sky with blue, or if you have watercolor paint, you can also use that to paint your sky. Okay, so the same idea with the blue and white. I'm going to take a little bit of blue and a little bit of white, and you can paint your sky with watercolors if you have them. And again, you would paint all the way down to reach your land. Okay, so let's go back to our first painted example. Once you've done this part, you have to wait a little bit for it to dry. We want especially the grass to be dry before we move on to add the rest of our garden. So this is my dry one. It's all dry and I'm ready to start adding my flowers, and I'm also going to add a little fence going through my garden. I'm going to start with a little fence. I'm going to use my white crepe and I'm going to make a fence that goes along the back of my garden. Maybe I'll have a little gate and it goes all the way along. So how I make an easy fence, I do lines down first. You need to press quite hard with your white crepe because you want it to show. I'm going to make a gate there, so I'm going to leave space and bring my fence over here. I'm making my fence white. You could make it a different color if you want. You can make it brown or black or any color that stands out. I've made the lines, the vertical lines going up and down. Now I'm going to make horizontal lines to join my fence. So I'm going along the top and a little one on the bottom. And now it looks more like a fence. I'm going to do the same on the other side. Here is going to be my gate. I think I would like a gate that has a little archway here. I'm going to first of all do the archway, and then my gate I'm going to do 2 horizontal lines and a diagonal line going that way. I think I'll leave it like that. So now I'm just going to add some flowers all over my garden here. I'm using crepa. I've chosen 3 colors for my flowers. You can choose as many colors as you like. When we draw our flowers, because they're just an impression of a flower or just an idea of a flower, I'm not going to give them lots of detail. So I'm not going to draw a center and lots of petals. I'm just going to do little dots. And you might say, oh, but they don't look like flowers. They don't right now, but once I add more and more, it's going to look like a big garden with just a little impression of flowers. So you can continue to add small dots. When you get closer to the front, they might be a little bit bigger. And as you get far away, they're going to be smaller. You could even put some on your bushes if you like. You can do as many flowers as you like. You can cover your whole grass with them or just have them around. I made a little pond here. You could do that too if you like. So I think I'm going to continue with some flowers over here. When you make your flowers, you want to make the dots not in rows. So I'm not going to do a line of flowers. You want to make them random. That means they're just all in different places all over. They're not in a line, because normally flowers don't grow so perfectly in a line, especially in a big field like this. They would be all over the place. If you like, you could make a little path coming through your garden. I'm going to take a brown crepa and I'm just going to make a little path that comes from my gate, and I'm just going to kind of colour that a little bit. Okay, so this is my Monet garden. I hope that you had fun making it, and I cannot wait to see yours.